Welcome to the AI Brief from the YPO Technology Network. I'm Stephen Forte. Today, 3 stories about how the companies building AI have stopped competing on capability and started competing on leverage, and what that squeeze means for every CEO writing checks right now. Last episode, we talked about the illusion of control, how the tools we think we're steering are quietly steering us. This week, the steering got a lot less subtle. Elon Musk is using the biggest IPO in history as an AI distribution weapon. Nvidia GPU prices have jumped 48% in 8 weeks, and the bottleneck isn't chips, it's electrical transformers. And OpenAI just killed a product with 6 months' notice, which is a polite way of saying your vendor roadmap is their roadmap, not yours. I'm calling this episode The Squeeze. By the end, you'll know exactly where the pressure is coming from, who's applying it, and what you can do about it before it lands on your P&L. Let's get into it. First up, Musk Grok and the most expensive enterprise software sale in history. Here's what happened. The New York Times confirmed that Elon Musk is requiring every bank advising the SpaceX IPO to purchase Grok enterprise subscriptions. We're talking Goldman Sachs, JPMorgan, Morgan Stanley, Bank of America, Citigroup, the full roster. Some of these banks have committed tens of millions of dollars, not because they evaluated Grok against competitors, not because it won a bake-off, because the alternative is losing access to more than $500 million in advisory fees from what could be the largest IPO ever. SpaceX is targeting a raise north of $50 billion at a valuation above $1.75 trillion. Let's call this what it is. This isn't a sales pitch, it's a toll booth. Now, you could argue, and some will, that every big client has leverage over their bankers. That's true, but there's a difference between negotiating fees and mandating that your advisors adopt your AI product as a condition of doing business. Musk isn't selling software. He's bundling it with access, and the banks are buying because the math works. Tens of millions for Grok is a rounding error against 500 million in fees. Here's what makes this worth your time. If you're running a company with significant purchasing power or deal flow, you just watched someone demonstrate that AI distribution doesn't require a better product. It requires leverage. Musk has turned SpaceX's capital markets event into a customer acquisition channel for XAI. That's not a tech strategy. That's a power strategy. And if it works, and it is working, expect every founder with a secondary AI bet to start thinking about where their own toll booths are. I'll give Musk this, genuinely. The audacity is matched by the execution. He identified the one moment when the most sophisticated financial institutions in the world cannot say no. And he used it. That is leverage at its most precise. The lesson for the room. If someone with this kind of gravitational pull is in your supply chain or your deal flow, understand that AI adoption may not be your choice. It may be their condition. Second story, and this one should be on every CFO's desk by Friday. The Wall Street Journal reported today that we are now in active compute rationing. Not theoretical, not projected, happening. The Ornn Compute Price Index shows that renting an Nvidia Blackwell GPU now costs $4.08 per hour. 8 weeks ago, that number was $2.75. That's a 48% increase, not over a year, not over a quarter, over 8 weeks. And here's where it gets structural. Half of the data center builds planned for 2026 are delayed. The bottleneck is not chips, it's not capital, and there's $650 billion committed. The bottleneck is 5-year lead times on high-voltage electrical transformers. Only 5 of 16 planned gigawatts of capacity are actually under construction. Fusion Worldwide is reporting Blackwell lead times of 3 to 7 months. The money is there, the silicon is coming, the electrical infrastructure to power it physically does not exist yet. I want to name this dynamic because it's going to keep showing up. Let's call it the transformer paradox, and I mean the electrical kind, not the architecture. We have $650 billion chasing compute capacity that cannot be plugged in. That's not a supply chain hiccup. That's a physics constraint dressed up as a procurement problem. Now, some will say prices will normalize as supply catches up, maybe. But the history of infrastructure bottlenecks says otherwise. When demand is structural and supply is physically constrained, prices don't mean revert on a convenient timeline. They stay elevated until the constraint breaks, or until demand finds an alternative. So what does this mean if you're running AI workloads today? 3 things. First, lock in compute contracts now if you haven't already. Spot pricing is moving against you. Second, audit your inference costs. A 48% increase in GPU rentals flows directly into your unit economics. Third, start pressure testing your AI roadmap against a world where compute stays expensive through 2027. If your business case only works at last quarter's prices, you don't have a business case. You have a wish. The honest truth is Nvidia built something no one else can match right now. Blackwell is the standard. That's earned. But when you're the only game in town and the power grid can't keep up, your customers stop being customers and start being captives. That's the squeeze. Third story, OpenAI is discontinuing Sora. If you built anything on OpenAI's video generation tool, you have until April 26 for the web and app versions and September 24 for the API. After that, it's gone. That's roughly 6 months from announcement to full shutdown. On its own, this is a product decision. Companies kill products. It happens. But zoom out, and the picture gets uncomfortable. A Futurum Group survey of 838 enterprise decision makers found that 61% cite OpenAI as their primary generative AI platform. 61%. That's not a market leader. That's a single point of failure for the majority of enterprise AI strategy. Now, shutting down Sora is not the same as shutting down GPT. I get that, but it reveals the dependency. When your primary AI vendor can deprecate a capability with 6 months notice and your response is to scramble, that's not a partnership, that's tenancy. And tenants don't set the terms. Let me give this a name too. Call it the deprecation tax. It's the real cost of single vendor AI dependency, not the subscription fee, but the retraining, the compliance revalidation, the integration re-architecting that hits when your vendor changes direction. Futurum projects the total AI platforms market will reach $292 billion by 2030. That's a lot of revenue for vendors who get to rewrite the rules mid-contract. The counter-argument is that OpenAI's platform is dominant because it's genuinely good, and consolidating on the best vendor is rational. Fair. OpenAI earned that 61% through execution, not luck. But rational consolidation still creates fragility. The question isn't whether OpenAI is the best choice today. It's whether you can afford to have no choice tomorrow. Here is the action item, and it's straightforward. If more than 40% of your AI workloads run on a single vendor, you need a migration playbook. Not because you're going to use it next month, but because the day you need it, you won't have time to write it. Sora just proved that. So let me pull these three stories together because they're really one story. Musk is using deal access as leverage. Nvidia's scarcity is doing the pricing for them. OpenAI is exercising the fine print. Three different mechanisms, same result. The power dynamic in AI has shifted from please adopt our product to on whose terms will you use it. The squeeze is here, and it doesn't care whether you're a bank, a hyperscaler, or a mid-market CEO trying to keep your AI budget in line. The companies that navigate this well will be the ones that saw leverage, not just technology. Negotiate compute contracts before the next price jump. Build optionality into your vendor stack before a deprecation notice forces your hand. And when someone tells you their AI product is a condition of doing business, understand that you're not evaluating software. You're evaluating a power relationship. That is the YPO Tech Network AI Brief for Tuesday, April 15th. I am Stephen Forte. If this was useful, send it to a fellow member. I will be back Wednesday with more. Until then, stay sharp.